So we are past the combine, and now it is time to shift gears to the actual NFL draft. And for the Raiders, this is the time where they have to make some moves. They have to pick their direction, they have to draw up a game plan, and then the front office has to go out there and execute. Because the Raiders do have some of the core pieces in place, and we all just found out that they have agreed to bring in Geno Smith, which is just huge, and he of course has been connected to the Raiders for a while. But even with this signing, there are definitely still holes to fill. And obviously, if you're the Raiders front office, you want to go out and get more players that would fit the Pete Carroll system. So in this video, I want to talk about what the perfect case scenario would be for the Raiders in the draft and in free agency. I want to talk about the recent news going on with this team and so much more. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so right now I'm going off the fact that the Raiders have just signed Geno Smith, so they need to get skill position players around him. That is definitely the direction the front office wants to go. That is the direction I would want to go if I'm a fan. The Raiders do currently have 10 picks in the upcoming NFL draft, and right now, since they signed Geno Smith, a guy that does have some experience and is looking to have a great season with a new team, I think the Raiders should wait and take one more QB super late in the draft, like a Will Howard, an Ewers, a Dart, someone that is available and somebody that they are confident they can develop in a few years. In this draft, I would not be against the Raiders making a trade if it gives them flexibility. I know they could probably trade with the Saints because they need a QB, but the market right now looks like the top 2 QBs will be taken early. I know that Cleveland is in love with Shedeur Sanders. I think the way the board is set up this year, you can get a guy at 10 that would be just as good, if not better, than who you can get at 6. There's not like any standout top prospects, but at the same time, there is a lot of talent with very high ceilings. One guy that I have been raving about all season that could fall is Ashton Jeanty. He's a weapon the Raiders could trade down to get, and I think Saquon Barkley and the Eagles just proved why having a top tier running back is still super important in terms of winning a Super Bowl. Saquon so many times in big moments just put the Eagles on his back. Obviously the Eagles had a pretty good offensive line, but still, the running back is not a lost cause, it's still a big X factor, and Jeanty looks like he could be on his way to becoming one of the best ones in the game. And since the Raiders signed Geno Smith, I think if they can also draft Jeanty, all of a sudden, you got some quality players behind center. And then also, all of a sudden, you got guys that can help out Brock Bowers, which really is just super important. I can't stress that enough. But like I said, at pick 6, you obviously don't take Jeanty. That's a little too high. That would be a reach. But that is where trading back could come into play. And then I also really like some of the backs later in the draft, like Travion Henderson. I know I'm a Buckeyes fan. I'm a little bit biased, but that guy is solid. I think he has a high ceiling. So there really are so many options to play with. But if you consistently watch this channel, you know how high I am on Jeanty. And what he did at Boise State was truly incredible. He just bounces off defenders. One-on-one, nobody can tackle him. He's a guy that is really going to be a gem for whoever gets him. And before I continue on with the draft, let's talk about the recent Max Crosby news, because we just found out that he is going to be staying committed to excellence in Las Vegas. And even though Vegas is a hotspot for athletes in terms of like living there, I still think it's a big deal and shows what this team is building towards. Crosby believes in the process and wants to be a key part of the future, completely the opposite of what's happening in my hometown of Cleveland, where Myles Garrett and a bunch of other guys want to leave. Anyways, back to the draft. At pick number 37, I think the Raiders could go 2 ways. I like Xavier Restrepo, a wide receiver from Miami, or I could see the Raiders going defense and adding to that unit by taking Nick Imawari, a 6'3", 227-pound linebacker from South Carolina. I think if Xavier is available, you gotta go with him. He almost certainly won't see the same success as Cooper Kupp at the NFL level, but the Hurricanes' playmaking hero could easily fit into the role Sean McVay created for Kupp. Restrepo thrives as a David vs. Goliath blocker in the run game, and his undersized frame actually boasts decent density to hold up. He also is a shifty route runner and an impressive backyard football finder. He can be a third down demon or a Patrick Mahomes-like creator's best friend. At pick 40, I like Tyler Booker from Alabama. He is 6'5", 325 pounds. He had a 66.5 PFF grade, and Booker is a guy that loves physicality. And in his own words, he loves to ruin people's day. He really stood out in college with his size and how much he loved to be physical. Obviously, the NFL is a different monster, but still, Booker has everything it takes to be a good offensive lineman in the NFL, and I think he would be worth the second round pick if the Raiders don't end up trading this pick. In the third round, I like Jack Bech, a wide receiver from TCU. Whether it's through free agency or the draft, the Raiders should continue to focus on building around their new QB in Geno. I know once you get to these type of picks in the draft, you are just looking to find a gem. Jack Bech is a big, intelligent receiver with great hands and a high route running IQ. I think he could be a good fit. Then at pick 107, this is where I would grab that second quarterback. And really here you just go with whoever you are confident in, also considering what's available. I think Will Howard will be available. He's coming off that national championship run with the Buckeyes. Quinn Ewers I would assume would go a little earlier. Maybe Jackson Dart could fall. There could be some okay options. I'm not going to talk about the way later rounds of the draft because who knows what could happen there. It's kind of a toss-up. But before we wrap up this video, there is a massive trade that the Raiders could be linked to. DK Metcalf requested a trade from the Seahawks. Of course, the Pete Carroll connection is already there. And Metcalf is due to make $18 million in 2025, which is the final year of his second contract. He's reportedly looking for $30 million per year, and the Seahawks reportedly want a first and a third round pick. Now, with the way the market is, I would honestly be super shocked if the Seahawks got a first round pick for him. Obviously, they will get the third, but I would say a second and a third would be max, and pushing it would be one late first round pick. Metcalf would definitely give the Raiders the number one receiver they have been looking for, and honestly, it would be perfect to pair him next to Jacoby Myers, who is turning 28. Metcalf, who Carroll and the Seahawks of course drafted in the second round in 2019, has had at least 900 receiving yards in all 6 of his NFL seasons. He had 66 catches for 992 yards and 5 touchdowns in 15 games in 2024, and knowing him, he probably can't sleep about those 8 yards. I know it's probably super annoying to not reach 1K and be that close. And also staying with the Pete Carroll connections, Tyler Lockett was recently cut as well, so he has been linked to joining the Raiders. Obviously, he's a guy on the very back end of his career. He would be like a fringe receiver 3, and honestly, all he may be now is just a guy on the roster with experience, but still, signing him would not be a bad idea at all, in my opinion. But besides that, things really are coming together for the Raiders. Like I said, and like everyone knows, there is still a long way to go, but they just took one big step forward by signing Geno Smith, and of course, re-signing Max Crosby. That's really all I have to say for this video. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about the Geno Smith signing and also the Raiders re-signing Max Crosby. And if you made it to this point and you enjoyed, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe because your support truly does mean the world. And then also, let me know what you'd like to see next. And until then, I will see you all later.